You're watching the Tesla Live Q1 Earnings Edition with your host, Mark Coughlin. Oh, I got no sound. I can't hear Mark.
Okay.
And I don't. Oh, there we go.
Hi. You back? Okay, I'm back.
There you go.
All right.
The timer was different for all of us today. Don't ask me how that works. Coming from a central server.
Welcome everyone to the Tesla Live number 303, which earlier in the day I thought was 302, but Casey caught that one. So thank you, Casey. But welcome to the show.
303.
Yeah, number 303, and we've got some earning call goodness to spread with you tonight because, of course, that just happened. But first, introductions. Mr. Patrick Connor joins us from the West Coast. How are you today, sir?
Hello, I'm good. If my throat's a little gravelly, I went to a concert last night. Lots of screaming and yelling. It was good times. Good times.
Excellent, excellent. Also joining us, as per usual, Mr. Casey Green from an undisclosed location on the East Coast. How are you today, sir?
Doing all right. I'm here in my house. We made it.
Yes.
I almost also didn't catch the 303, but the computer's like, hey, that file already exists. I'm like, what are you talking about? And then I looked at it and then did everything right. And then when I'm down in the corner right here where it says 303, I almost left it as 302. But it's been an adventurous weekend.
Just change it like this.
Yeah, just flick it.
We were doing our thing, running large U-Haul trailers back and forth, and had a little adventure. We were supposed to be back Sunday night. That's why we did the Sunday show from the car, and it didn't quite work out that way. So we were running in about 30 minutes before it was time for me to get ready to do my morning reports for work, and then let me just show you what happened.
Oh no!
Yeah,
that's not good.
Right, and so I had checked these tires before both trips, the one that we were on with the video and the one coming back, and the tires were all above the wear bars. But
you're supposed to keep the air on the inside, Casey. Why are you doing that?
No, I checked the inside. So this is the tire that still has air in it, and you can see that little gouge right there. I think that and those are threads poking out. They didn't look like that before we left. Otherwise, I wouldn't have left. Definitely not with the trailer.
Wow! So it actually split a little bit.
Yeah. So then here's the culprit. I got TPMS works like a champ. So I got the little TPMS icon. I'm like, oh, that can't be good. And then it started flashing. And as I'm trying to use the right scroll wheel to bring up, because on the Model X Legacy you get just like on the Model 3 and Y, you've got a card, but you have to do it with the scroll wheel. So I was getting it ready, and before I could get there, it moved there on its own, and the tire's flashing in red. It says pull over safely, or pull over soon. And then a couple hundred yards go by, and pull over soon. Another couple feet go by, and it says pull over now.
You have a different definition of soon. That meant like now.
Right. And then we saw a truck station, and we had already found an exit. We were pulling up on the exits, and so we pulled up on that, and I was going to just do the shoulder until I saw the gas station. And so then I said, all right, let's pull into there, and tried to get out of the way. And it turns out we were not out of the way. There were a whole bunch of semis that needed to go around us to do their thing. And after about 2 hours, the tow truck showed up, and he managed to get us on the flatbed and get the U-Haul trailer. Was actually harder for him than the Model X, which I did not expect. And he put the U-Haul on his tow ball, and then when we got back, so I gotta zoom out again. It was a weird interface. You gotta zoom out to change pictures. He helped me put on my spare that's never been used before. Probably should have been in the car and was not.
You actually carry a spare somewhere?
Sometimes I do. We ordered this before all of our adventures, like to South Dakota and Massachusetts, and then it took 8 months to arrive. So obviously I wouldn't recommend that particular Tesla accessory dealer. And there it is, first time in use. And
I like that. Look at that. I want those all around. What are you talking
Yeah.
about?
4 of them.
Yeah, so you get your little reminder. So it's I like it better than the Toyota Puke Yellow, but it gives you, you said, your maximum is 80 kilometers or 50 miles an hour, and then on the side it tells you to fill it to 60. So then here's the aftermath of the old tire. So not only did it get this new gouge, the cords and threads were popping out there. So
yeah, that is no good.
None. But the rest of this part was at this height, like above the wear bar before we started the trip, which is still, I understand that's under the quarter, under the penny, no matter how you look at it, just time to go, but it wasn't done. And it's even worse.
You shouldn't have taken Sandpaper Road on your trip. I
didn't have a choice not to take Sandpaper Road. We're in the Carolinas, and the ability to maintain a road is not high on their list of
not high on their list of priorities. Yeah,
exactly. And then on top of that, the trailer, it was the largest U-Haul trailer, so it's got dual axles, and both sets were like way out of alignment. And so the tow truck driver thinks that because look how much more meat is on the outside of the tire.
Yeah.
So he thinks that combined Tesla's aggressive turning profile for their high tow with the sandpaper roads, with the bad alignment and my constant correction, and that was just did in the plus the heavy tongue load from the full trailer. Just did
you were doomed.
I was doomed. Thankfully, it was TPMS and not a catastrophic blowout. And whew, yeah.
Wow. Quite an ordeal on Sunday, for sure.
Yeah. Well, that was actually Monday.
Oh, that was Monday. It's even worse.
It's 30 minutes from home.
Oh.
Yeah, at least you weren't in the middle of nowhere. You were 30 minutes.
That's part, because it could have been. Because all the places that did that were in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, as a famous person has said before, it can always be worse.
It can. And so 10 minutes before the show started, my new tire showed up. I went with the Michelin Cross Climate 2s that I've been talking about for how long now? 2 years. I started with the Cross Climates, and then the Cross Climates 2 came out, and they weren't available on X because it's too heavy. So we were going to get a Cross Climate SUV, which is now discontinued because the Cross Climate 2 comes in our size. So I'll let you know after they get on.
Very good, very good. Well, let's start the show with some Q1 information on the earnings call, which just completed just a few minutes ago. And Patrick's going to start us off and get us into this.
Oh, right. I love listening to the earnings calls. So, full disclaimer, I am a Tesla shareholder, fanboy, obviously being here every week. But let's get going. Record production and sales again. Their second highest quarter in revenue. And why wasn't it their highest in revenue? Because they made a major decision to sell more cars at a smaller margin while still remaining profitable. This meets Tesla's goal to have more EVs on the road. It also lays the groundwork for future revenue with autonomy sales. And they have other items in place, which we'll talk about later, to reduce their cost to build vehicles. So if you look at the trading after hours, the stock is down based on headlines like Tesla slashes prices and margins suffer, falling below the floor. And in my opinion, this is the reason that retail investors understand the stock better than analysts do.
Right. The margins would matter if they went to unprofitable, but they're just smaller.
Right. And they are trying to get more EVs on the road. And there's actually some good discussions that they had with the analysts about how Tesla looks at the market, and it's not the way the analysts do, and that the analysts should at least consider Tesla's view. Anyway, we'll get into that one. So I have high hopes as a shareholder that this is going to be a great time. So Model Y was the best-selling non-pickup vehicle in the U.S. in Q1. So not just the best-selling EV. This is outselling Camrys, Accords, Prius, whatever car you can think of in the U.S. It's outselling that. Their storage products, energy storage, is growing both in volume and profitability. Margins are improving and might hit 20% later this year, which is their target. So then they went to questions. So what's the process that Tesla uses for making price adjustments? And they talked about this some. They get daily reports on how many cars were built and how many were ordered every day. They review this along with macro costs of goods, all the stuff that they have to buy from suppliers. And then every week they make a decision on what to do with what vehicles production is going to do, what the costs are going to be. And then they get fast feedback. So if they make a decision and it wasn't the best decision and they get data the very next day or the very next week that shows them that, they'll make adjustments. And then they were like, well, what factors do you consider, or which ones matter most? And they were like, we're not going to tell you that. And that was Zach. And then Elon stepped in and said, we just try to make the least dumb decision that we can. And occasionally we're going to make dumb decisions. But if you have fast feedback, you can correct it and become less dumb. And that's our entire goal, which I think is just a funny way to look at it. The next question was about 4680s. So progress is being made on all fronts: yield, cost, quality. The Austin cell factory is progressing. They expect to have 70% lower production costs compared to their previous methods, that, as they described in Battery Day. So they're making good progress on what they promised at Battery Day. When the 4680 is in volume production, this is going to reduce their material costs for all the vehicles that use it. And of course, as their volumes increase, more vehicles will move to it. There was a question about commodity pricing and how it impacts them. And they said, finally, they're seeing commodity prices coming down. Specifically, lithium is way down, but others, some of them are still high and others are volatile. They use long-term contracts wherever possible to stabilize pricing, as well as they are putting in their own refining plants for lithium, for anodes, for cathode materials, and all because they have to, not because they want to. They're like, please, somebody else do this. We have plenty of other fish to fry, but this is what's needed to make it happen. And they're talking about the refining plants that they're going to be building for their own use could end up being some of the largest in the world.
And they added to sweeten the pot. They said, of course, it's fun. So that's how they were getting other people into it. It's fun.
It's a party, man. Come on, everybody.
And of course, Elon mentioned again that it's not the mining of lithium that's the issue. It's for refining and getting it to the point that it can be used in EVs. That's the big thing.
Right. Also talking about margin, Austin and Berlin are ramping up on volume. We've talked about that every week here when they make their milestones, 4,000, 5,000 a week. And when you're ramping up is when the cost per vehicle is the highest. Yeah. Once production gets higher, you can now amortize that over more vehicles, and that's going to reduce the cost. So that's one of the reasons they're able to reduce costs now. They think that they can hold those prices steady and improve their margin as they reduce their costs. So this pushes them to do that. So one of the questions was, how have these price changes impacted demand? And the answer was short. It was, orders exceed production. That's all we're going to say, which is what you need. So yeah, it's giving exactly what they want. More orders coming in and more vehicles going out. So there was a question about how low will you go with margin? And this was a good one. Let's skip to this one. Will you reduce
related to what you were talking about?
Oh yeah, definitely. That's a good one to show. There was a question about, will you reduce the cost of full self-driving like you have reduced the cost of the cars? Elon had a long answer to this. I'll summarize, and it was FSD, when it's working, is going to be very valuable. And we've been getting new versions of FSD, and sure, there are some regressions, but progress is being made. And he ended the answer by saying, I hate to say it again, but I think we're going to do it this year. This year. Will be the year.
2 weeks.
Yes, we've heard this promise many times over many years, but I've been driving it and I am seeing progress. It is getting better. So it's nice to see that progress. And so He didn't say yes or no, we're going to change the price. He just said it's very valuable, which to me sounds like they're not going to decrease it at all. So one of the things that they talked about was Dojo as a service. This is a long shot, but if it pays off, it could pay off big on the scale of Amazon Web Services. So Amazon started off as a bookstore, and the data centers they built out were for their own purposes. And then they said, hey, we have surplus capacity, let's sell that. And now they are one of the largest cloud provider in the world. So that was an interesting discussion there.
I was like, hey, we only need this on holidays. What do we do with it for the rest of the year? Well, let's rent it out.
Right, exactly. Yeah. And we've all seen over the last, especially this year, the growth in AI, at least interest from the public. And to make a really cool AI model, you have to do training. Training takes a lot of horsepower, and Dojo has a lot of horsepower. So if you could make some really cool products, have
right,
Dojo
kind
do
of horsepower
training,
too,
and you would deploy it however you want. Next on the list was heat pumps. Someone asked if they were going to do a heat pump product, and they said it's on our list. We have the technology to do a really cool commercial and home heat pump products, but it is a back burner project. FSD is far more important, and the back burner projects are not going to get attention until that is done. The next
Probably
one on the
a
list
wise choice.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. A lot of Tesla's future value comes from their ability to deliver full self-driving autonomous vehicles. Market share. Here's the discussion I hinted at earlier. There was some discussion about how Tesla's losing EV market share, and they said, we don't look at EV market share. We're a car company. We look at the percentage of the car market that we own. And there was a really cool statement from Musk here. He said, we want to make the internal combustion engine go the way of the external combustion engine, like steam-powered cars.
Yes.
There are still a few steam-powered cars around. They're interesting collector's items, but they are not a factor in the market. And that's what they anticipate will happen to internal combustion. All cars will be EV at some point. And that was exactly what the analysts needed to hear. Of course, their share in EV market's going to shrink as more people are making EVs. And but if you're looking at their volumes and their overall car market share, it's growing every quarter. So why would you look at it in this ridiculous way? So next on the list was 2 million units in 2023. We've all discussed how many units we think they're going to produce this year. And Musk said we would need a crystal ball to give you the exact right answer. There's so many macro factors. If things go well, yes, they'll make 2 million. But 1.8 million is the guidance they've given the street, and that's what they're sticking to because they don't know what's going to happen over the rest of this year. Next on the list was opening up their charging network. Their first V4s with Magic Dock have been deployed in Q1. And the goal is to balance the needs of Tesla customers and non-Tesla customers for charging. In Europe, they've been able to open about half their stalls to non-Tesla customers, and they have done this without increasing the wait times. So once again, real-time data for the win. They can make these decisions. They can see how it impacts their customers, and then deploy new stations to make sure that it's not becoming a bad user experience for their customers.
Yeah, on this trip, the only times I had to wait was when somebody parked in the trailer spot.
Right. Yes. And that's as they have trucks come out, there's going to be a lot more Tesla vehicles hauling stuff. So and if they're opening it to non-Teslas, there are non-Tesla trucks that are out there, which are more likely. Not that trucks are the only thing that can haul, or tow, but they're more likely to be towing than non-trucks, I think. So yeah, they definitely have to consider that with their charging, their Supercharger network. So the next question was, how low is Tesla willing to push the margin? And Elon said there's macro issues to consider. As interest rates are lower, demand will increase, and they will make those calls on the fly every week in their pricing meetings. and they're not going to say what the limit would be. Later in the call, he even talked about how they could sell their vehicles at zero margin and still make a net profit on them if you look at all the services that could be sold to that vehicle in the future. So they're deploying a platform for their future stuff. Zach said, we have a lot of space and we will keep the business healthy. So that was a comment to me saying they're never going to go into negative margin if they can intentionally. Near-term volatile market factors, but they are set up in a very good position when the economy improves. And then Elon talked about how affordability matters. If you can't get a good loan rate or can't get a loan at all, then you're not going to be buying a car, right? So they have to help make the market accessible. And that's exactly what they're doing with these price reductions. Every time you lower the price some amount, you're opening that up to more possible buyers. And it's not it's a cone shape, right? So a small increase could be a larger market introduction. So next on the list was X.com. How is X.com going to impact Tesla? And Musk said, I don't know, it might make it easier to buy a car, but we're not really going to discuss that right now. And that was the end of that one.
Elon has grown, hasn't he? Like,
yes, yeah. He used to love to go
Remember when someone used to ask him a question in the early days? He would just go off on a tangent. Well, that Elon is gone.
Right. He's finally figured out the game a little better. Yeah. The next one was kind of interesting. They talked about Ford's Model T and how the pricing on that forced many competitors to go bankrupt. And then they asked, is that what Tesla is trying to do with these price reductions? And the answer was kind of interesting. It was like, no, we don't even really look at the competitors that much. We look at how we can make our products better and how we can get them into the hands of more customers. We want all EVs to succeed. And that's why we're opening up our charging network and open sourcing our patents. So it's not an attack on the EV market by any means. It's just trying to get more EVs out there. And I thought that was interesting.
But also, as he said, they're not looking at it in terms of EVs. They're looking at it in terms of vehicles. And when you look at what Model Y does in relation to whole brands, let alone, just from one factory, they've got 3 more.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay. Let's skip to the last one. Incumbents make a lot of profits off of selling parts. So the legacy automakers can sell their vehicles at little to no margin. Why? Because they have a healthy parts market, and parts are sold with a large markup. And so they sell those to all the dealers and service garages around. And so if you sell a car and don't make any money, well, 5-6 years from now when it needs new whatever, you're going to be making money on that car. So this fact has made it nearly impossible for any newcomer to come into the market, because if you don't have a deployed fleet, you don't have that parts market. And so you're going to have to sell your car at a profit, at a higher price. And so that is only possible if you have something compelling, something that is going to make buyers want to pay a premium. And what is that today? That's electric vehicles. We see EVs are getting a premium on the market. That's the whole reason people are willing to do the Tesla stretch, is because it's a better vehicle, cheaper to fuel, has a lot of great advantages. And then the other reason is, according to Musk here, autonomy. I don't know if people are buying a Tesla because of autonomy or not. It's really cool. Right now, it's fun to have, but I don't know if it's going to be driving sales until it actually happens. But that was an interesting view. Yeah, it'll happen in 2 weeks.
This year.
Yeah.
13th year running.
Yeah, I just never really thought about how that model works with parts, and how that really made it an uphill climb for Tesla to even start getting. Well, I mean, they were lucky in that they were able to have a long period of time where they were not profitable, and they could still get loans and sell stock and raise capital. And without that, they would have had no chance. The market believed in them for a long time, which allowed them to move through years without making money. And now they're on the upswing of that, and it's really great to see.
Yeah, that's it's kind of interesting that some automakers are pushing that they don't make any money on the sale or very little of it, and it's all based on parts after that. So it's a kind of a different model than you would typically think of at all. Kind of like the shavers and the razor blades, or the blades and the razors, where they're basically giving the razors away, but they make the money up on the selling of the blades.
Right. We saw the same thing with inkjet printers for a while, where the printers were sold cheap and the ink cartridges were expensive.
Yep.
Now they're both expensive.
And he was asked about the CyberTruck, and of course his comment just was, "It's going to be the best product ever. I can hardly wait." Although he did say a launch in possibly the third quarter.
Right.
And then a little bit later in the call, he said end of third quarter.
Right. So, he already moved it back within the
same call. He moved it back within 20 minutes. So that's real time information. Like he was saying with the cars, he and the other executives get an email every day outlining the numbers that are going through Tesla. And he would say that he said that he'd be surprised if there's any other company out there that receives updates about the sales and orders quicker than Tesla does in its real-time data. So it sounds like, as Patrick had mentioned earlier, that they are willing to make a change at any point if the data supports it. And that could be up, that could be down. It doesn't matter to them. They're trying to keep that perfect pitch that production is going to be almost equal to sales, so that they can keep their costs in line and keep the customers that are ordering happy.
And the fastest you can realistically do at the legacy makers is maybe to the hour, but even then, like if somebody goes in and then you mark it sold and then the financing doesn't go through, you got to undo it. So daily is really the fastest you could be somewhat reliable. And even then you come back the next day and something that closed at midnight is gone the next day.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, they have to get this data. Legacy companies have to get it through their dealerships, right? And so there's going to be some lag there.
Right. Sure. They're not concerned with doing minute by minute reporting. They're concerned with selling cars and service and parts.
Actually, I would say that the legacy groups are just interested in selling to the dealerships themselves, not even the end customer.
That's their customer.
All they're doing is fulfilling dealer orders in mass, and then they adjust based on the dealership's response back and how many of those cars are sold during a given 30-day period.
Right. And they'll throw in incentives to use the manufacturer financing, or same way that you get money on the hood as a customer. They have the same programs for the dealers. They're not always matching with what you see, but like, hey, we've got too many pink F-150s. How about you take them and we'll handle this?
Exactly. So yeah, that was an interesting call. It was about an hour straight, right to the minute. The last call went a little bit over the hour, but it was interesting to hear the analysts concerned circled all around. Where's the floor on the pricing? What's the quantity that you're putting out?
How will we sell it? What are your margins?
And how are you determining the price? That's what I heard from the whole call, was that those things were top on the analyst's mind, and it was presented about 5 different ways with those questions.
And about 8 different, at least 8 different calls of, hey, we've already answered this question.
Yeah. So it's interesting. It's interesting that, and of course that's the big thing that you see in articles and such this week is, Europe dropped the price for a number of Tesla units, some up to 10%. We just had a reduction last night for Y and 3 in the US. And of course, that kind of combines with losing half the credit because the batteries are not made in the U.S. or North American free trade partners. So I can see why they reduced the price. They just got to the customers and said, hey, don't worry, we're going to give you almost half that credit up front, and just keep on with your ordering plans. So I can understand that reduction. Had a lot of people belly aching up here in Canada saying, well, where's our $1,000 or $2,000 off a car? Well, we didn't have that credit that was open to us, so that's not going to swing the needle that much. So I understand why they didn't reduce the amount for Canadian customers, is because we're not getting that federal $7,500 credit or half of that credit. That doesn't exist here in Canada. We have a $5,000 federal credit, which Tesla qualifies for. So that's it. They don't, and that's not going away. And if you live in certain provinces, British Columbia and Quebec, you also have a provincial amount that can be tacked on to that 5,000 as well. So
nice.
That's why there was nothing in Canada.
I wonder if there's anything going on in Australia, or if that was just a exchange rate correction, because they had just started selling Model Y there, and they just reduced the price just recently.
Yeah. I haven't heard anything about Australia credits, but there very well could be. Just it's not publicized that well that I've seen.
Or it's just the results of these pricing meetings.
Yeah. So thank you, Patrick. That was a great summary of what happened just a few minutes ago.
You're welcome.
I think what we'll do now is just look on some of the other changes that happened this week. Casey, what looks good to you?
The CyberTruck. Okay. So the CyberTruck, we were concerned with whether it would open like a Model S and X, or if it would open like an F-150. And, well, we are pleased to say that it opens like an F-150 Lightning. So let's share, not the entire screen. That won't even fit. Let's share this tweet that Teslarati has shared with us here. You can see there's the hood part, and then there's the front fascia, which includes the light bar and what would be a grille on a lot of other vehicles. The headlights are actually below this, as we've seen them move into these little square deals in between the opening there. And then we also get to see. Oh no! All the other articles with this picture had a picture of the windshield wipers in action. This one does.
Yeah, so the as some people are dubbing it now, the mega wiper was in action, and probably the reason it was sitting at this outdoor wind tunnel was to see how the wiper reacted when there was a stiff breeze pointed to the front of the vehicle.
Yes.
So, but that frunk modification is a huge plus. I think that's one of the things that the Ford F-150 really batted out of the park. It's a really good functional piece for people that have a pickup, since they're higher off the ground, and having that L bracket at the front, that the front and the frunk lift at once and out of the way, that's a huge plus. And I'm glad to see that it looks like Tesla's going to be moving that into production.
Yeah,
I thought they were going to have a step stools pop out of the front, so you can climb up.
But I mean, realistically though, like when it comes up to the breast of a tall man, how are any children or shorter people gonna use this thing realistically? The other thing I hope we see, this will be the only truck without a power frunk if they stick to that no power frunk garbage. So hopefully they don't make that mistake and they put a power frunk on it too.
I agree. Yeah.
And
just make it an option, even if you have to pay for it.
Yeah, I don't mind paying for it, but
exactly.
Standard would be nice because everybody else is a standard.
Yeah. And just to answer to Derek's question in the chat, no, it's not cheaper to buy a car in Canada. It's more expensive. So probably about 15 to 20% more. So keep that in mind if you're thinking of crossing the border to buy a car. It's cheaper in the U.S.
The whole gray market thing, you try to bring it home.
Oh, and you got to pay in loonies too. That's the other problem.
Whole big bag.
Yeah, whole bag of them. Next, what's another story to touch upon? Oh, yes. Powerwall 3 possibly coming. Now, this wasn't, of course, mentioned at all in the earnings call, but
That's too bad.
Tesla has been rumored that they are going to be coming out with a Powerwall 3. And if you're like me, you were possibly thinking that maybe this is going to give you maybe some more storage in that unit, which are now 13.5, I believe, is the amount that
Yes.
they're at. According to this article, they believe the power amount will remain the same. They don't believe it's going up.
The power is going to go up.
But the power that it can share is going to boost a little bit. And the battery material that's in it, it might be LFP.
Yes.
So they're thinking that is another plus for it. That will also lend itself to more longevity. I understand that the current Powerwall 2 is warranted to 70% of its power capacity up to 10 years. Other LFP batteries that are on the market through other manufacturers, some of them are higher, 15 years. So that might be something that Tesla's looking at as well. So not any specifics that came out of this article, but it was interesting saying that they believe that the change is coming soon.
It makes sense. It goes with the whole thing they told us at Investor Day. It's parts commonality, reduction in costs, reduction in sales price, reduction in everything. Because remember when Powerwall and PowerPack first came out, and then later the original Mega Pack, they all used the same battery module. It was just a tray of two Model S packs, basically. Not packs, but two Model S modules. And they were using the same Model S chemistry, but that was not conducive to stationary storage. So they switched eventually to LFP batteries in the Mega Pack XL, and now that's just coming full circle. Put them same cells in the Powerwall, and then you can go back to just using one base unit for all the products. So your Supercharger V3 and 4 can use it. Your Mega Pack can use it, and then your Powerwall can use it. And if they ever bring back a Power Pack, you just use one section of a Mega Pack.
Right. Yeah. LFP makes perfect sense in any stationary storage.
Weight doesn't matter. Yeah.
Yeah, where the weight doesn't matter, and it's less prone to degradation. It's more tolerant to temperature. It can be left fully charged without degradation problems. So moving to LFP, absolutely, yeah,
and just cheaper.
And which is probably because it doesn't have the energy density. That's probably why they're not increasing the energy capacity, so that it's still something you can actually have someone lift and mount on the wall if you want to do it that way.
Two people.
Yeah. Don't hurt your back.
Yeah. What do they weigh? On the wall. What do they weigh, guys? Do you know?
Mine was 300 pounds on the shipping.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. It's a few hundred pounds, so it's definitely something you don't want to lift yourself for sure.
Right.
It said team lift on the box.
That's and don't get in the way of it if it's falling like a domino. Get the hell out of the way because it's not going to be pleasant if it hits you. But Casey, I was wondering if you could maybe share the photo that we put in our thumbnail today.
Oh yes.
And we can talk about this story next, which was introduced at the beginning of the week, and there was a quick debate that happened when this photo first appeared on the internet. And the debate was whether it was real or not. This, of course, is the photo that someone has shared. Looks like a spy photo that someone has taken of the front of a Model 3 that's been modified. This is looking like the Project Highland is what we're assuming it is. You can tell that it's a slightly different look to the front. You're definitely got different headlights. They're a little bit narrower, and they're not quite as bubbly. Yeah. There's a little bit of a difference to the actual front aerodynamics of the front bumper. And you can't really tell in this photo, but there is another photo that shows that the blinker light that's attached to the front fender is a little bit more recessed, and right there. And it's there's a line that goes out from it, which are a little bit deeper into the car to allow the camera to see more or not to be blocked as much. Is looking like the reason for that. But this looks like it was a quick and dirty photo, right? Oh yeah, you've got different rims as well. Yeah. But this looks like someone pushed the cover off. You can see it's strapped down.
The wind caught it.
I don't think the wind caught this. I don't think the wind
That's
caught
their
this.
excuse then. The wind caught it. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe. But
if the wind is that guy's nickname.
Then he was bending over to do it, and he had beans for lunch. And whoops, the wind got me.
Yeah, if his wind did this, man, you'd be hard pressed to be still alive after that.
It's a lot of beans. Exactly. Oh no, I meant like if you're bending down and he's surprised, so he stood up and then he pulled it up too far.
Another point that would certainly lend credibility that this is an actual car, not a Photoshop deal, is that the whole front is covered in dead bugs.
Yeah.
So that's a hell of a detail if this is just Photoshopped, but the car's dirty and it looks like it's being used. So of course the testing of this vehicle would certainly be in play.
Another point that came up with another supplier, they had the same bumper, but it was unpainted, and you can kind of see it here. It looks like the steering wheel area has a binnacle, like on the Model S and Model X.
Oh, what? Really?
And the same supplier showed us a picture of the binnacle with the MCU was there, but the glove box was missing, and I think the steering wheel was missing. But you can kind of see how that would play out, and it looked like a mini Model S, and I think that's fair at where these things have gone in price and what Tesla's been doing with the cost reductions, like cost of manufacture.
I would really be surprised if a binnacle showed up in the Model 3 after all this time. Yeah. I'd be shocked actually if they were to add a binnacle to the car. Another screen would just be an additional cost that they've proven really most people are quite happy without it.
Yeah, but a screen, the screen for the Model 3 there, you're looking at what? A cheap version of what these phones use these days. And they did save all that money by removing the ultrasonics, body colored. Yeah. And it would also make it so that your most expensive cars stop feeling like, because even the brand new S and X's are treated like legacy, like mine, because they are different than the volume car. And it's like this thing just came out. You just increased the RAM for the games, and yet you don't have X5Z features because it was hard to figure out where to put the picture.
I would for a push up in sales on certain cars, I would just put the binnacle in the performance car.
I was about to say, you could do it on just performance cars,
and just leave the others as is, because that would be just another step up that people could aspire to the performance vehicle over the regular car. That would be
certainly not the base one.
Yeah. I don't know how that would be if that's a difficulty when it comes to software upgrades, over-the-air updates. If some of the fleet has the binnacle, some don't. Obviously, they're dealing with that now with the S, the X, the 3, and the Y, and now the Semi showing up. I can understand that they've got different streams of software that they have to keep separate, and it has to go out to the right cars at the right time. So, I imagine they could probably navigate that.
If you design it purposefully and make everything that needs to come up modular, then you can just push the same software to all the cars, and the car will say, "Hey, I've only got one screen. Let me put things in this orientation." Or, "Hey, I've got 2 full screens because I'm a Semi. Let me put it this way." Or, "Hey, I'm a Legacy S and X. Here, let me just half-ass it here." And then, I'm a new S and X. Let me put it here.
You can't tell that Casey's bitter at all. You just can't tell. No. Well, just half-ass it, he says.
Way back at the beginning of the 3, there was discussion about a HUD.
Yeah.
And even from Tesla, Musk mentioned it on calls, and then that talk all kind of disappeared.
And actually, there's a couple of aftermarket groups now that provide that HUD. There's a few aftermarket guys that they're producing stuff that looks like it really belongs in the car. So nice. There's a HUD that is available now, as well as think it's Hanshaw provides one for the back seat screen for the 3 and the Y, and it looks like it's made for it. Like you'd be hard pressed to not know that that's not a standard feature.
Right. Nice.
And if this is true and it is done, like this, like either just the performance or the whole of them, then I wonder how many of them would actually be able to pull it off and actually just get the actual feed on an older car, or at least one that didn't ship with it.
Yeah. Well, I hope this is Project Highland. I'm liking the headlights. The bumper, I'd have to see it clean. I think I'd have to see it up front to really appreciate it. But
on the bumper, some folks were complaining about the lack of headlights, or not headlights, but fog lights. Now that Matrix headlights are legal in the U.S., like they are in the rest of the world, you can do a fog light without it being in a separate enclosure.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Do you think there is no fog light, Casey, or do you think that little triangle that's lit up in the corner there in white?
This was at first.
Is
but
that
then when
possibly
I saw the
a fog light?
One, yeah, that's because that's where they are now. But when I saw the unpainted one, I was like, yeah, there's no fog light on this.
Those are just reflections, I think.
I think this is a dude taking a picture.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
That's our John Wind.
Yes, Mr. Wind right there.
According to Derek.
Good morning,
Anders. Exactly. So yeah, that's cool. Glad that someone took a picture, however they got it. The other thing that's different on this car with the cars in the wild is they do cover the back end too. So I'm not sure what the changes are in the back. You can see this one's plugged in, but we can't see the back. But interesting.
I'm also curious when any of this hits the Model Y, because typically the Model Y has been getting everything first, even though it was done, and like you would think they would go to the older car and do these things, but they just started with the Chinese Model Y. Like, here, let's put this in there, let's put that in there, and it showed up eventually in the other factories. Yeah,
it's interesting. We'll see as this starts to come out. When will it be released? We don't know. We know
we're most surprised.
What will be the switchover? Probably something to do with running out of parts on the current one, right? It's Tesla tries to time this with what they've got available. They want to get, because once a new Model 3 is out, nobody wants the older one, or less people would want the older one. So they want to make sure that they're running out as this starts to go into production.
Yeah, and there's also speculation that, hey, maybe this is testing out stuff for the Roadster, but I don't think so. When you listen to how Franz talks about the Roadster, it's like, yeah, eventually we can have dessert.
Yeah. Next story.
Hey, Mark, you asked how much the Powerwall weighs, so I looked it up. I have a article called "Everything You Want to Know About Powerwalls," and it is 114 kilograms, or that's about 251 pounds.
That makes sense, because on my pallet was the gateway and the shipping box, so that would be another 50-ish pounds.
Yep,
because it was the old. So
gateway. We can expect if they go to LFP, it's going to be a little heavier.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, thanks, Patrick. Next, I want to talk a little bit about Giga Mexico, and a story came out, and of course, we're getting all these stories from Mexican sources. This is not Tesla that's letting us know these little tidbits of information about Giga Mexico. Just as when it was coming up to be announcement, we were getting a lot of information from the Mexican government, and this comes by the same way. We heard about Tesla wanting to beat their build time on their next factory in Mexico. They wanted it to be 9 months or less, about 2 weeks shorter than Shanghai production of the actual plant. But what this Mexican official has now said is Tesla, of course, is going to want to build the mass market car here, 4 million a year when they're at speed. And therefore, they believe that the construction time is going to take longer because it's going to be a brand new production line that Tesla's not used to, because they want this new car to, of course, speed of production is going to be the big thing. They may have multiple lines, of course, but they are going to reorganize the line for efficiency over even what they've done in Austin, which is their most recent plant. So since they've never done this before, they believe that that's going to push the production of the actual factory out beyond the 9 months that was initially announced by, it was Tom Zhu, wasn't it, who had said that he believed that they would be able to beat Shanghai's record.
But it makes sense to do it right the first time, because what we're looking at here is another Model 3, and then Model Y, and then Model 3 China, and then Model 3 twin factories situation of having to learn how to rebuild the car all over again. And now not only is it just rebuilding the car all over again, it's a whole new car that they have to do at scale, at cost.
Yep. So not a big surprise. Actually, the surprise I thought was that they were going to try to build the factory in 9 months. But this is something that I guess reality may be setting in a little bit more when they start to figure out, okay, here's the design of the car. This is how we're going to have to build it. They talked about it a little bit in the previous calls about how they are going to modularly design the car differently than what they currently build the 3 and the Y today. Just giving the ability that if we could build it in modules and pieces and then just assemble it all at the end, instead of putting a piece on, lifting something up so the whole piece comes off again, reassembling it at the end. All this stuff they're trying to figure out, how do we efficiently build a car and save ourselves 30% of time? We're cutting out these really unnecessary steps if we could just combine it at the end, as opposed to put it together, take it apart partially, put it back together, get it to match, all those kind of things.
Plus, if you don't have to paint it, because paint is expensive, you don't have to send the doors off to La La Land to come back at the end of the process. You might still have to take them off just for ergonomics, but they can be right there next to the rest of the kit.
Yeah.
Or just not put on until it's past the time when you would need.
If there's no paint at all and there's no colors, then you can just put on any old door.
Yeah.
Or at least it's not one that's got the right door panel on the inside. Not like we had when the Model 3 first came out, one white, one black.
Grab it at the end. Yeah. So so that's fantastic. We've got a little update there. Again, no real information from Tesla. This is just coming from a Mexican official, and of course, a Mexican official, a politician. All they're interested in is, saying, "Oh, look what we've done here. Look at this fantastic thing we're bringing. Oh, and it's going to be better, and it's going to be bigger." So take that a little bit with a grain of salt, because there may be some ulterior motives about the information that he shares with the press. But
and they may be wicked early. Like they were 2 months early on the Mexican Gigafactory announcement before Tesla even acknowledged.
Oh yeah, and the rumor was that Tesla wasn't even ready to indicate that that it was going to be Tesla Mexico, but they had officials from Mexico at that meeting, and they were busy telling anyone that would listen that they've got the next Gigafactory. So, and then Elon made that very unofficial announcement at the start
in between the show and the Q&A.
Yeah.
Right. Well, we might as well just say it.
Yeah, they've already let the cat out of the bag. So, very good. Very good. Well, I think that about wraps it up this week. Keeping to our about an hour of show. Let's go to shoutouts. Casey, what do you got going this week?
Well, as I mentioned at the beginning of the show, I've got these new Michelin Cross Climate 2s I'll be testing out for a while on Sundays over at youtube.com at Casey Green. You've got a show. This week's show was kind of fun because it was from the car, and I was just a skosh late at hitting the Supercharger. So we actually started driving, and then we transitioned from the phone looking out the windshield to the tablet, and just doing the show as best we could. And that was I liked it. I hope you guys did. And I might borrow some of that format for the next time around. Maybe not the in the car, but this is the presentation style.
Exactly. What Supercharger were you at when you started the show?
I forget the name of it already. in just north of Santee, and it was at a Stuckey's. And the very first time we went there, the Supercharger was closed. Well, the Supercharger was open, but the business was closed, and all the lights were off. It was really quite surreal because all you had was the red Tesla lights and your headlights to guide you. But this time for the show, they were open, and we had some blizzards from their Dairy Queen in there. And and then on the trip back, they were closed again. But most of the lights, except for the ones directly on the gas station, were on, which was nice.
And of course, Casey's got a nice PSA for everybody that owns a Tesla.
Yeah.
Do not use the pull-in spots if you don't have a trailer.
Hours to our trip, because I didn't want to. If it was a station that had a pull-in spot, I didn't want to be the guy blocking 6 parking spots. But as you saw during the live stream, there was a Honda Odyssey block. What I normally do is I'll block the non, I'll block the fossil spots, and so there was a Odyssey blocking me, so I had to block most of the Supercharger. There were only 4 spots left, other than the ones I was taking up, and it wouldn't have had to be that way if either A, that site had a pull-in, and B, at the pull-in sites, if people would. I understand it can be just so easy, just kind of coast on in nose first. But, one, you got to constantly rejigger it because they aren't all put in the same place, and not all of them have even the parking bumps, let alone the bollards, and so it's more effort and more time consuming on your part because you got to line it up perfectly because the cables are still short, and so you got to get out and do it again.
Yeah.
And also another PSA for Superchargers. If you have one pedal driving and it does something you don't expect, and if you go to push the pedal and it moves, just let go of everything. Hold the wheel, but let go of all the pedals. Or use your left foot to bring the car to a stop. We watched an elderly individual. She so you know how it always looks like a pickup truck has been knocking over the Supercharger pedestals?
Yeah.
It isn't always. And so she hit it pretty hard, and the Model 3 did come to a stop, but because she didn't change feet, she pushed harder, and Model 3 all-wheel drive is powerful. It pushed it over some more.
Oh,
Mm-hmm.
Not good. Not good.
Yeah. That's,
and this is also why so many stations have the bollards, but this one didn't have bollards.
Yeah, that stepping on the accelerator when you think your foot is on the brake, and then of course when it starts moving, you press harder, which makes the problem worse. Malcolm Gladwell did a really in-depth study about or interview and article story interviewing when this was happening with Toyota vehicles, and it's an autonomic response where you literally think that your foot is on the brake. And so what Casey said there, take your feet off of all the pedals, use your left foot, which is the one you normally do not use for the brake, because this is going to help reset your brain, and then step on the brake. And if even if the accelerator is stuck, in most cars pressing the brake all the way down, you can stop. So
you can negate
it. You do it in a Tesla, it goes do, and it kills the power. And you have to then tell it, yes, I'm doing cheetah mode burnout to get it to actually override. And
speaking of Superchargers, you just reminded me, there was a story this week as well, a video of a person in Florida going to a Supercharger that was actually underwater. It was about 8 to 10 inches of water.
Don't do that.
And they went in, backed up to a spot and charged their car.
Oh,
and
wow.
I was going, do not charge your car if you're standing in 10 inches of water. That's just not I understand nothing happened to these people because the video, they lived to show the video. So obviously nothing happened.
Yeah.
But don't do that. Go to another Supercharger.
It's got all the safety features, but it's not worth risking that you could have the catastrophic all the safety features failing. Plus, if it's a V3 station, there's now a fan and a radiator in there. So now, I mean, it's not your dime, but if that thing sucks in debris, now there's a chance that when you need it again later, now it might not have been repaired yet. It's not like the V2s and the V1s where they were just solid state. They're just
if you want, check out our Twitter feed. We've got the video posted at the Tesla Life on Twitter, and you can check out the video for yourself. But I would not definitely not charge if I had to step out into water. Like literally, the water was up to the rim of the bottom of the door. That's how much
Yeah,
water
like it's just
was.
like a puddle, no big deal. But if it's standing
Yeah.
water, I wouldn't. It's not.
Yeah, yeah.
Like I said, it's like at least 6 different safety features. But again, if they all fail, you're looking at 400 volts, 400 amps. It's toasty.
Yeah. Patrick, what do you got going this week, or have any articles that are coming up for us?
Yes, I do. Carswithcords.net, and let's see. Let's give you a little preview of what's coming. I still have my big battery on there, and up
Tell you what's coming.
soon
It's in the
will
future.
be. Oh, there's not enough EV infrastructure. Oh, is there? Isn't there? We'll find out.
There's not
On
enough
May
EV
7th,
infrastructure for towing.
so it's going to be a while. But last week I promised a report on that one particular spot where the FSD beta has been screwing up, and will the V11 go through there like a champ? No problem. It didn't have any of that braking. The phantom braking that version 10 had in that spot. Version 11 had no problem. It's like, I don't know why anybody would stop here, and it just went perfectly. So the earlier versions fixed that merge problem that I was having. This version fixed that phantom braking problem. Although I was going through a construction zone, and it made a couple mistakes. There was one where it turned, and they had moved the lanes, and so the lane that it turned into used to be in my direction, but now it was actually oncoming traffic. And so I got over and hit the little thing and said, "You were in the wrong lane." And then in that same construction zone later, they had also moved the lanes around, and it was in a left lane that was supposed to be a left turn lane, where before that was a straight lane. And so I had to get over one more to what used to be the right turn lane, which was now the straight lane. And the funny thing was, so I corrected the car, and then 2 cars to my left just cut in front of me and did the same mistake that the car was about to do, that the FSD was about to do. So I'm like, oh, okay. It would have been driving like a human.
As good as a human.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then the third thing, in that same construction zone, about half a mile later, this is a big construction zone, I got in the wrong lane because I had taken over. I'm like, I'm not going to let it drive anymore. And then I realized, oh, crap, I'm in the wrong lane because the lanes had shifted again. And I didn't notice it until I was already partway into this turn-only lane. And so I was like, okay, so FSD made a mistake. I made a mistake. I saw 2 other drivers make a mistake. So I guess it's on par.
Nice.
I thought that was pretty funny. All right, my usual shout-outs. I am with, you can see it here, the OEVA. You can check us out at oeva.org. And you should also just go look at, is there an EV club in your neighborhood, or even a Tesla's owner club? Get involved. This is how you can be an activist. Our time is now. If it doesn't happen, it's now or never. EVs are happening, and there's lots of change going on, legislation that could be pro or con, and you want to be able to act with other people to get your voice heard by the politicians. And if you're in a group, you matter more than just some individual. So join up.
Yeah, absolutely. Derek, yes, the Jeremy J video is what we're talking about. And with that, I think we will wrap it up tonight. If you haven't already, please give us a thumbs up on the video. Press that subscribe button. That helps us out. And through the week, follow us on our Facebook feed, which Patrick puts together for us. Thank you, Patrick. And also our Twitter feed, @TheTeslaLife. And we'll get together next week and see what's happening in the Tesla Life. We want to thank Lee Moon. We want to thank Casey for our live presentation. And we'll catch you all next week.
And you can find
Future free from fossil fuels.
Exactly.
Oh, he got it in. He got it in.
So I was going to mention how much data my car had been uploading when I was manually driving with the trailer. There was a day where it uploaded 6 gigabytes, but I noticed that today it downloaded 6 gigabytes, and I was just checking in the app, and I don't have an update, so I don't know. Did it download a map, or it rarely downloads much? It often uploads a lot. But
we'll have to find out next week.
We'll find out soon.
Have a great week, everyone.
Stay positive. Test negative.